The way I usually explain surrender is to ignore all thoughts except the thought of surrender and relax. Now, the truth is, I break it into two instructions like this: ignore all thoughts and relax. But the fact of the matter is, in a sense, either instruction is sufficient unto itself. To ignore all thoughts, in a way, is to relax, and to relax is to ignore all thoughts. As I said before, relaxation doesn't mean that you have to feel relaxed. Relaxation means that you abstain from using what feels like your willpower, using what feels like you are acting, that you have to go into the breach to make something occur or to prevent something from occurring. And ignoring actually really means the exact same thing, which is when a thought comes up about something, you just regard it as irrelevant to yourself. And what does that mean, to regard it as irrelevant? It doesn't mean that you're kicking it out of your mind, doesn't mean that you're suppressing it, doesn't mean that it has to go away, doesn't mean that you're saying it's bad. It means basically that you are preventing yourself from reacting to it with your willpower. You are preventing yourself from reacting to what the thought is saying you should do or not do, to want or not want. And so to show this sort of equivalency of ignoring thought and relaxation, one way of thinking of surrender is that it is essentially relaxing and then drawing a kind of circle or perimeter around that relaxation and defending it. A metaphor for this might be if you were sitting on a chair, a nice, beautiful recliner, and you were relaxed, and maybe you were staring out of a beautiful window, at the sky, I don't know, on a beautiful day. Your body's relaxed, your mind's relaxed. That's the state of peace or bliss or contentment. That state is actually nothing other than a reflection of the self. It's a state when we consider it a coming and going thought. It's the self when it is not considered as coming and going. When we don't identify ourselves with the mind and body that seem to be departing from it, basically. So you're on this chair, you're looking out the window, and imagine your task was to stay in that relaxed position. Despite the thoughts that are coming up into your mind, like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I want this, I want that. All these various thoughts are trying to get you up from the chair. Your job is to ignore those thoughts. What does ignore those thoughts mean? It means stay in the relaxed position. So there's only one point of non-relaxation here in this case, which is the vigilance, the watching, the wakefulness, to make sure that the thoughts that are trying to get you up from that chair do not have their intended effect. That they don't succeed in making you leave that state of relaxation. Now, I should clarify, it isn't actually about whether you get up off the chair per se, if we're talking about a physical chair. It's about whether you do it effectively by reason of what feels like your willpower. If it happened automatically, if it happened involuntarily, if it happened spontaneously, despite your vigilance, despite your wakefulness, despite your watching, then it doesn't actually interrupt the state of relaxation that you're in. In effect, in that sense, you would still be sitting on the chair even if you've gotten up. You would feel like you're sitting on that chair, staring out at the sky. that feeling as well, if it's identified as a feeling, is a thought. And that thought, too, is to be ignored. In what sense? It's to be ignored in the sense that if it's felt that, but I'm not feeling relaxed right now, so I must not be doing surrender correctly, that very thought is a thought to be ignored. Ironically, the real feeling of relaxation doesn't feel like anything in specific. We're trying to get rid of all the thoughts that link us to specific feelings, to identifying ourselves with specific feelings. Getting rid of those thoughts is, in a sense, leaving us with what we actually want, the actual relaxation, which is, it's not specifiable what that is in particular. The point is, though, that what we're trying to do is to prevent our willpower from being used, to stay in that state of relaxation that, by metaphor, I've analogized to sitting on a beautiful reclining chair. But that beautiful reclining chair is not actually a physical chair, and it doesn't matter whether you stay on a physical chair or not. What matters is that you prevent yourself from getting up from what feels like the inner chair, which you can stay relaxed in by refusing to use what feels like your sense of control. That little muscle inside that feels like I'm doing, I'm choosing, I'm deciding. By keeping that muscle in a state of non-use and defending that non-use with a state of waking vigilance. That's surrender. And then even the thought that I'm actually doing this thing called surrender, which involves preventing myself from getting involved in thought, that too can be recognized as a thought and ignored. Or, more to the point, it need not carry you to do anything. The doing that happens, again, will only be that involuntary, automatic kind of doing, not the doing that feels like your burden. If there's no burdensome willpower used, that is a state of relaxation. And if we take it again one step further, the reality is there's never any burdensome willpower used. The very idea that there is itself a thought, which we ignore by not reacting to it with our willpower. Similarly, states of so-called falling out of surrender, when the mind has seemingly unrelaxed, and you seem to have gotten, you seem to have gotten out of that chair. That too is a thought which you would ignore, to which you would not react by using your willpower. You would give it no credence. You would give it no belief. So the way this works out in reality is often that there is a continuous pull to get involved, because there's relaxation, and then there is the mind is saying, well, nothing's happening. You're involved in this task, you're involved in this affair, and something needs to occur, and you need to be the one to do it, even though most of our life is actually governed by the unconscious. 99% of what we do is outside of our awareness. For those small slivers, it somehow seems like I have to get involved. And instead of staying in that relaxed posture, we give in and we feel like, oh, I have to step into the breach. I have to step into the gap. Surrender is about resisting that temptation. To treat yourself as another person. Your mind and body are over there, and if it wants to do things, it can do them without you. Your position is to stay in the relaxed, non-willpower using stance, and to knock away any thoughts or that are trying to get you to leave that